Hello everybody, Resonance here, and today I have a new update video for you guys about what I've been up to over the last couple of months and where we're going in the future. So the first thing I wanted to get out of the way is that I've been trying to use Facebook and Twitter more often as a way to keep in touch with you guys. So feel free to give me a follow on Facebook and Twitter, links on the screen or in the video description below if you want some updates on whatever's going on in the games I've been playing or stuff in my own life. So if you've been following me, you may have heard that I've actually been traveling quite a bit recently. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Spain, which was my first time ever traveling to Europe, and it was such a fun trip. I'll talk about that trip more in a later video, and then more recently, I actually just got back from my trip to BlizzCon on November 4th and November 5th, which was also fantastic. And during this video, I will be touching upon my trip to BlizzCon in a bit. So the most major piece of news that I wanted to touch on in this video is that I actually moved out of my parents' house in April. So this means that I've been spending most of this year trying to figure out how to support myself. In an effort to do this, I now work 2 part-time jobs, which I signed up for in May of 2016 this year, and I also do Twitch and YouTube on the side. To be honest, doing all of those things at the same time is a little bit overwhelming, and hopefully that can explain my spotty upload/streaming schedule at times. And so that brings me to a point that I've been making a lot recently in my videos, which is, thank you so much for taking the time to support the content that I do for other games besides Age of Empires 2. It helps so much with the longevity of the channel. In an effort to try and find a way to support myself, I've been trying to branch out, and this means that I can attract viewers from a wider variety of games, and also just to keep things interesting for people. A lot of people that originally followed my channel, some of them over time end up shifting to other games, and by branching out content, I still give them a reason to continue watching my stuff, in addition to exposing people from a wider variety of games to the wonders of Age of Empires 2. So if you enjoy my Age of Empires 2 content, I ask you to take a moment to check out my non-Age of Empires 2 videos, give them an honest chance, and perhaps leave a thumbs up and a comment, as that does help out tremendously with the channel. Now, I realize, of course, that the videos that I do for games other than Age of Empires 2 are significantly less popular, but it's something that I have to do anyway, and that's because an Age of Empires 2 channel unfortunately cannot support itself on its own. The game's community is only so large, and in order for a YouTube and Twitch channel to really make any sort of significant income, it needs to be even larger than Zero Empires' channel. Now, of course, it goes without saying that when I pick games to play, I pick them because I like them. I built this channel because Age of Empires 2 is my favorite game of all time, and I do videos for games like Hearthstone and Pokemon on the side because I happen to legitimately really like those games. Hearthstone is one of my favorite games of all time, and one that I really have fun playing. Of course, while I do content for other games, I plan on continuing to produce Age of Empires 2 content on a regular scheduled basis like now, all the way throughout the end of HD's development cycle. The thing that I realized is that in order to make any remotely livable wage off YouTube and Twitch, that you have to be significantly larger than Zero Empires, and I'm honestly nowhere near being able to achieve a livable wage off of YouTube and Twitch. So right now, I primarily use it as a fun way to interact with you guys, to give back to the communities that create the games that make me feel happy, and it's mostly just a fun thing. And so that is why I took those 2 part-time jobs in May, because I wanted to keep YouTube and Twitch as a supplement to my income, and something that I do because I really legitimately enjoy it, rather than my primary source of income that I have to rely on and produce a very large amount of content for games like Age of Empires 2, which I think would honestly keep me burned out. So just to reiterate before I talk about my jobs, when you see me doing content for games other than Age of Empires 2, if you are a fan of Age of Empires, this should be a really good thing for you, and something that you view as positive, and something that you're willing to support, because the better that those videos do, the more motivated I am to do Age of Empires 2 content. It also means that I'm actually still having fun, and I'm avoiding burnout, and that should be a legitimate concern of people, as we saw when Zero Empires ended up taking a significant break from YouTube. In fact, I also took a significant break from YouTube that was significantly longer. If you remember on my original channel Illuminite way back in the day, which was the first Age of Empires 2 channel out there, I took a couple years off because I ended up burning myself out on doing far too much content for just one game. Also, it's worth noting that I'm extremely receptive to your feedback on the other content as well as the Age of Empires 2 content, so your feedback is really helpful. Let me know how I can improve the content for you, make these games easier for you to understand and enjoy. I always love to hear your feedback, so thank you so much. Now, speaking of Zero Empires, one of my part-time jobs is I'm actually the manager for Escape Gaming's Hearthstone team, which means that I work under Zero Empires. For those of you that remember, Zero Empires, one of the major, largest YouTube channels for Age of Empires 2, actually has his own competitive gaming team called Escape Gaming, and I have the honor of being their Hearthstone team manager. If you've been following me on my social media, Facebook and Twitter, then you're probably aware at this point that Cydonia is my player, and I'm extremely proud to be his manager. I have to say, it is an absolute honor working with Zero Empires on his Age of Empires 2 project, and now under Escape Gaming. It's really crazy, and it is a really fun job, but it is a lot of work, more work than I thought it was, so, that's why my free time is a little bit limited right now. As part of being Escape Gaming's Hearthstone team manager, I had the opportunity in November to drive all the way across California to support Cydonia and cheer him on at the Hearthstone BlizzCon World Championships. I did a lot of research on the Hearthstone competitive scene before deciding on the best player which would be a good fit for Escape Gaming, and I ended up picking Cydonia because not only is he very mature, but he's also an extremely skilled player. So skilled, in fact, that he managed to win first place in the America's Spring Preliminaries and the America's Spring Championships, allowing him to attend BlizzCon, which was such a fun trip. So I drove down all the way across California with my friends, not only to support Cydonia, but to also check out all of the awesome new Blizzard news, as there are plenty of updates to all of their very important franchises. We saw some Hearthstone card reveals, new content for Diablo, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and I got to enjoy each and every one of them. Now, a lot of people ask me why I enjoy Hearthstone so much if it's such a radically different game from Age of Empires 2, and perhaps that is why I enjoy it. I think that Hearthstone is one of the ultimate stress relievers if you kind of treat it as more of a relaxed, silly game. After a long day of work, I like to sit down and just play something that's just a little bit more laid back, something that's more creative, and I think that Hearthstone really is the perfect type of game for that. And so, you wouldn't believe how hyped I was to see all the new Hearthstone card reveals. In fact, I actually revealed a bunch of them on my Twitter page, so feel free to check that out if you're interested in seeing some of them. Basically, a couple cards that I wanted to go over here, and I'd be happy to do a more detailed, in-depth card review if you guys want to see it. Please let me know, as that's kind of my favorite thing to do, is just theorycraft and build silly strategies, and at the end of the day, I think that's what Hearthstone is supposed to be about. The first card I wanted to touch on really briefly is Mistress of Mixtures, which is a 1-mana 2/2, Death Rattle, restore 4 health to both players. So this is essentially a new twist on Zombie Chow, which is something that I'm really happy to see in Hearthstone, which means that Blizzard kind of understands that we need these kind of strong anti-aggro neutral cards in order to allow control archetypes to exist in a wider variety of classes. So I'm really happy to see a card like this. Obviously, the stat line is a little bit weaker than a Zombie Chow's and doesn't, necessarily trade favorably with all 1-drops, but it still is really good as it does heal both players, so I'm really glad to see this. We also saw a bunch of Priest cards, which I'll flash briefly on the screen. Most of these look absolutely absurd, so I really hope that Blizzard didn't pull another Shaman and accidentally make Priest absurdly broken. I don't think I'm going to enjoy playing against OP Priest, so we'll have to see if they got the power level correct, because these cards look really strong. We also saw a lot of triple class Discover effects, which are really interesting, so cards that basically class cards that can be played in 3 different classes. That's super duper interesting. We also got to see the Grimy Goons cards, which buff cards in your hand, so that's a pretty interesting new mechanic. Basically, I just like that the new cards are shifting to a more controlled style of RNG in Discover, which is again something I could easily do an entire video on, discussing the pros and cons of Discover as a mechanic, but really the design of the cards here seem really solid. I like that they are generally more build-around effects rather than just huge balls of efficient stats that you're just going to slap in any deck, like, Pilot or Shredder, for example, so that's really interesting to see, and I do like the triple class cards. I think that this opens up significantly more design space for Blizzard to explore in the future. The Hearthstone community in the previous expansion, Whispers of the Old Gods, got to really enjoy the 4-mana 7/7 that Blizzard printed, so of course I got a riot out of this when I got to see it revealed live in the crowd. We have Kuhn the Forgotten King, which is technically a 0 mana 7/7, assuming that you already have 10 mana. It's not the same, but I enjoy the memes. And then I think the most hyped card of the expansion is Kazakus, at least that we've seen so far, as we've barely seen any of the cards. Kazakus is a 4 mana 3/3 battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, create a custom spell. And I'll flash a picture that I took of some of those on the screen right here, but there are an absurd amount of combinations here. So you basically end up picking a mana cost for your spell and then combining a bunch of effects. That is interesting card design. By the way, you will be able to play this with Reno Jackson, as he does not rotate out with the rest of that year's expansions until the first release of 2017. And this new Hearthstone expansion, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, are actually coming out in December, early December. One of the other things that I did while I was there is I got to enjoy some competitive World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, StarCraft, etc. And man, I actually really do miss competitive StarCraft too. It was one of the things that really got me into the idea of wanting to do some casting and made me very interested in the idea of esports in general. And it makes me really crave to see some of that Age of Empires 2 on a big stage, or some fresh new RTS games that can really draw a crowd like StarCraft 2 does. It really makes me hopeful for the future. I'll tell you, there's really no experience like watching some of your favorite games on a big stage, on the big screen, with the energy of that crowd. It really is different from watching at home. And of course, beyond that, I also got to explore all the other wonders of BlizzCon, which I will be flashing various pictures on the screen for you guys if you're interested in checking out what the venue looked like. Going to BlizzCon really is an incredible experience. This is actually not the first major esports event that I attended. I actually went to the Dota 2 International in 2012, 2013, and I also went to BlizzCon the previous year before this, and I hope that I can continue going to really cool events like these.
And his opponent, hoping to give Canada yet more life in BlizzCon for one more year. Please welcome to the stage, Cydonia!
But of course, the main reason that I was there was to cheer on Cydonia, my Hearthstone player at Escape Gaming, and I'm extremely proud of him for getting top 8 at BlizzCon. BlizzCon is 16 of the best Hearthstone players in the world duking it out, and they had to claw their way there with blood, sweat, and tears to get there in the first place. And the fact that Cydonia was able to win some of his early matches to get to top 8 is absolutely incredible. So the game that I did get to watch him play on the main stage was the top 8 game versus Chansu, a very strong Korean Hearthstone player, and boy was this series nerve-wracking. My friends and I actually got front row seats to this, and then my friends actually made some really funny Cydonia signs just for the event, and we were cheering for him. The first game was a real nail-biter. It was his N'Zoth Control Warrior, so Cydonia's N'Zoth Control Warrior versus Chansu's Dragon Warrior, and Cydonia ended up dropping all the way to 2 HP. This is such a strong opening from Chansu there. Everyone was just sweating, and Cydonia actually managed to stabilize at 2 HP and pull an absolute miracle. He played the match extremely well, managing his resources, just clawing his way back into the game inch by inch, and he actually won the first game after dropping to 2 HP versus Dragon Warrior. So, well played, Cydonia. That was a great game to watch. But unfortunately, the rest of the series didn't quite go as planned, as Cydonia ended up losing a lot of Ragnaros coin flips, and Chansu basically ended up reverse sweeping him, ending the series 1-4. But still, at the end of the day, I'm extremely proud of Cydonia, and I could not have been happier with his performance at BlizzCon, because top 8 is no joke. So after cheering him on, I got to experience one of my favorite parts of the trip, and just one of the best memories I think I've had in 2016 this year is one of my friends encouraged me to head on over to the tavern, which was this like Hearthstone themed bar that was at BlizzCon that I'd never been to before, and I said sure, why not? I was pretty exhausted after a long day, and when we got there, I realized that the Hearthstone Tavern actually contains Hearthstone developers. Easily the highlight of the trip for me, besides seeing the new card reveals and then cheering on and meeting Cydonia in person, was getting a chance to actually play a game with the actual Hearthstone dev team, and then talking to them about design decisions. The games that I played with the Hearthstone devs there were absolutely hilarious, as they all had ridiculous decks. But of course, and remember, if there's one thing I enjoy more than anything, it's theory crafting. It's taking a bad idea and refining it and trying to make it good, to try and find where these weird synergies and strategies, as we see in the Break the Meta series, are actually decent. And so, I wanted to bring the most ridiculous deck I had possible against the Blizzard devs, and it worked out way better than I expected. And my deck was, of course, none other than my Spreading Madness Grim Patron Warlock. I love to treat Hearthstone as a creative deck building exercise, and I look at a card like Spreading Madness, and I ask myself, how would Blizzard want me to use this? Why was this card made? What is it for? How do we make it good? And so I put it in a deck, and I was like, okay, well, it's best with Grim Patron, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe we need some more synergy with damaging ourselves. Let's throw in some Enrage minions. All right. And then maybe Violet Illusionist so we don't take the damage from that stuff. Demon Wrath, proc more patrons, proc some Enrage effects. And then I noticed there's a 5-mana 3/6 Cthulhu minion wearing sandals. I was like, oh, wow. That actually is really good synergy with Spreading Madness. So I was like, we'll just slap some Cthulhu in there. Just imagine me, making some food and I'm just throwing stuff in this bowl until it all comes out and it actually tastes really good. And then we ended up with this monstrosity of a deck list. If you look at it, Dread Infernal is kind of like a big ravaging ghoul, right? Hopefully this is where you guys can see me really having fun, like outside of the Break the Meta series, is just being creative. And I think that's the best way to have fun in Hearthstone. It's not really care about winning or losing or treating it as like it's super competitive, but just treating it as a fun game where you can just get creative. Like I said, the match ended up going way better than expected, and I didn't end up actually winning it, which was so much fun, and the Blizzard devs had an absolute blast hearing about my deck list and trying to learn more about what it was trying to do. But I did end up getting punished later. I was playing against one of the other devs. He played Nexus Champion Sarad, which gave him a Kabbalah's Tome, which gave him a Spellbender, which ate up one of my spells, which was really bad. And then it also happened to give him a Pyroblast, which he used to kill me, so it all balances out, and I found it extremely funny, and it was just an absolute pleasure playing with them. Besides the games themselves, I had such a fun and challenging conversation talking with each and every one of the developers about various game design philosophies, ideas, and the problems that Hearthstone faces. I learned so much that night from talking to them that, well, I don't really talk about it that much, but game design has always kind of been one of my passions. I used to design little indie games when I was a kid, and one of the things that I hope to do is apply all the things that I've learned from you guys, from talking to game developers like I did, and apply everything I've learned to one day give back to the community in a bigger way by hopefully being a part of some new RTS game. I want to one day design an RTS game that we can call home, one that's inspired by Age of Empires 2, and I just really hope that I'm able to do that. I feel like the Blizzard devs get a lot of flack for Hearthstone that's a little bit unfair, as the problems that Hearthstone faces from a design standpoint are actually very complicated to address, and it was just absolutely fascinating learning more about the design philosophies behind the game, what makes it so fun, where they're going from here, and why. And overall, it's just such an honor to have that conversation in the first place, and it makes me realize all of the little fun things that make Hearthstone so great. That was such a valuable opportunity for me that I'm going to treasure for a long time, talking with people that are just so talented and interesting that they remind me why I love game design so much. Now, beyond that, I did get the opportunity this year to meet a bunch of my favorite Hearthstone streamers. So I actually got to meet Crip, Savitz, Kibler, and Trump, which is just amazing, as I'm huge fans of their work. And last year I got the pleasure of meeting Day 9, who is just a huge role model for me and someone that I really look up to, so man, that was a cool experience. After that, we ended up going to the Hearthstone Finals, which was absolutely epic. I'll show you guys a brief video of it where we have some awesome Yogg shenanigans, and what I hope this showcases to you guys is just how much of a different experience it is seeing things from the crowd. All that energy, all the noise, the production value, it was so much fun. And after that, I got the opportunity to meet Cydonia in person. He was just incredibly nice, and It was great getting a chance to talk with him and finally meet him after having the pleasure of working with him for so long. Congratulating him in person on achieving top 8 is an opportunity that I don't take for granted. Alright, so here is a clip from some of the Hearthstone Finals.
That's in his deck, so there may no longer be a Malagos in Dr. Fortunately for Dr. Maybe he does have it in his hand. Well, it could skip over a big season.
This is actually incredible. Dr. Maybe killed nothing. He actually resolved the entire Yogg and nothing died. In fact, he just gave Emperor Tharson another life. He didn't remove his ability, but that was absolutely not what he needed from that Yogg Strong. There is 17 damage over what I think Paolo says lethal here pretty clearly from his hand.
Oh yeah, that's a light spells.
Oh yeah, this is just going to be it. So Yogg does not answer Dr. Hippie's prayers, and Paolo takes the lead. 3-1.
Impressive stuff.
Jason Joe in the semifinals, and he looks in win form right now.
All right, well, game number 4 is going to come up in a second, right after this.
Do it, the fight, sinister strike, the attack. Paolo is our 2016 Hearthstone World Champion.
1 game away from BlizzCon last year, comes into this year, and wins the World Championship.
He took the near-miss last year as inspiration, motivation, and it took him all the way to the title, all the way to the trophy. He's now the champion.
What an impressive performance from that young man, and Dan is standing by on stage with our champion.
Congratulations, Bob. I present to you the 2016 Hearthstone World Champion!
Man, boy was that a fun moment. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that in person. It was a blast. And after that, I got to go to a Weird Al concert live. Weird Al was one of my favorite parts of my childhood. I love some Weird Al, so seeing him live was crazy. I didn't think I would actually get an opportunity to go to a Weird Al concert in person. It was just who Blizzard booked this year as the end concert. So that was a lot of fun. He got to play a lot of our favorite songs, like Fat and Dare to Be Stupid, and another one, Rides the Bus, so that was great. Oh, God, this video has actually been going on for a lot longer than I thought, and I realized that some buzzing in the background might have been my mini fridge from earlier, so hopefully that wasn't too bad, but it took me forever to record all this. I really just wanted to give you guys an update video, as it had been a really long time, and I've spent so long trying to figure out my situation, what I want to do with my life, how I'm actually going to support myself, that I wanted to make sure that I had things relatively in order before I shared everything with you. So there are a couple things that I wanted to touch on before I end this off, but I'm going to start off by, again, thanking you so much for taking the time to support the channel, and for those of you who got this far in my vlog, that must mean you really care about the channel and you're a huge fan, so thank you! So what's next for my channel? This is something that I could dedicate an entire new video on, and something I wasn't super prepared to talk about at the end of this video, but basically, I expect to get a lot of comments about this since I haven't mentioned it so far. Patch 4.8 came out while I was at BlizzCon, which made it really difficult to prepare for. I will be doing a video on it soon. I've been working on it for quite a while now, and Patch 4.8 for Age of Empires 2 HD Edition is something I'm super excited for. This has been a long time coming. This game really needed these performance fixes, bug fixes, the fixed multiplayer restore, so I'm really glad that Skybox and Microsoft and Forgotten Empires are still supporting the game, and I'm really looking forward to playing on patch 4.8. It also does contain some AI fixes that for some reason are not listed here, so if you are subscribed to my custom AI, my pride and joy, ResinSpot 5-1C on the Steam Workshop, link below. If you're looking for an awesome practice partner to learn the game or something to just play with your friends, then I definitely recommend checking out ResinSpot, as it has been updated for the patch 4.8 open beta, In fact, you can actually opt into the patch 4.8 open beta by following the instructions on the screen here or in the video description below. And again, I'll be talking about that more in a future video. It also contains a lot of balance changes that I'm really excited about, and a bunch of which I actually had the honor and pleasure of discussing with the devs themselves before the fact. So this is just great news for Age of Empires 2. So besides more Age of Empires 2, of which plenty is on the way, I would really like to do some content for Pokemon Sun and Moon, as I'm actually a huge fan of Pokemon, and I did a ton of streaming of X and Y back in the day. You can actually find a lot of my X and Y content still on my YouTube channel, and even my playthrough of Pokemon Alpha Sapphire if you guys are interested. Pokemon Sun and Moon is a game that I'm really looking forward to trying. I think I'm going to do some Wi-Fi battles for that, and or maybe a playthrough. I'm not sure what I would rather do at this point, but I would really like to do some Sun and Moon content, so you can expect some of that. And who knows, if I really like Sun and Moon, I could end up doing both. I'm just thinking that I'm not sure what's more interesting for people to watch. On one hand, playing through the game is easier on me, but it could be a little long, and Wi-Fi battles sound fun, but then I gotta breed up a bunch of guys, so we're either doing a playthrough of Sun and Moon, or I'm doing some Wi-Fi battles, or a little bit of both. Keep your eyes peeled, I'll let you know. Beyond that, I would really like to revisit Prismata, as my videos on that game have really been some of the favorite ones I've ever done so far, so I definitely recommend that you guys search my YouTube channel for Prismata to give it a look, because if you are a big fan of Age of Empires 2, I think you would really enjoy that game. Imagine an RTS game distilled down to its purest turn-based form, with no randomness, but so much replay value. It really is immaculately well designed in a game that I actually backed on Kickstarter. We haven't heard too much about it because the game has been a long time in development, so I've just been waiting eagerly for the Steam release and the open beta, but things are coming along and it's something that we can expect. It's a game that I see so much potential in, and I think that you guys would really love it. And in addition, I would like to continue just doing miscellaneous games on the side, like Armello, Heroes of the Storm, maybe some Civ 6, and this is where you guys come in. Please do let me know what type of games that you would like to see me play, and how I can structure it in a way that makes it easier for you guys to learn or enjoy. So hopefully this clears up some things for you guys. I've been really busy recently because I've been working 2 part-time jobs and then just trying to figure out my living situation for quite some time, how to support myself, but I am finally getting on my feet, so once work dies down a little bit, I'm really looking forward to just bringing you guys more awesome content and stuff to look forward to. So again, thank you so much for just supporting the channel in general and being awesome. I really take pride in the fact that we have one of the best communities on YouTube and Twitch overall. I really do believe that, and I attribute that to a lot of things, but the most important one, I think, is just keeping the dialogue, the conversation going. That's why I take the time to read everyone's YouTube comment individually. That's why I take the time to stream the way I do, involving everybody, saying hello, answering questions, getting to know you. It's just keep that dialogue going. And so, I feel there's no better way to end off this video than by reiterating that we really do have one of the best communities on YouTube and Twitch, and there's so many wonderful things in the future. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I look forward to reading your feedback, and I'll see you all next time.